John Quincy Adams warned us, strip due process from one, and you threaten us all. The story starts with this family in Oklahoma who had just 2 months earlier moved into a house that apparently at some time in the past had been occupied by people who were in the country without documentation, or maybe with documentation, but the government, the Trump administration just decided to strip their documentation. That appears to be most of the people they're deporting are people who are showing up for their monthly or every other month check-ins with Customs and Border Patrol or Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and then they just get snatched and sent off. But this family was not that. These were American citizens, born here in the United States, all American people. And without warning, ICE agents dressed in black tack gear and camo busted in, guns drawn, boots pounding on the hardwood floors like soldiers in a hostile territory, dragged the teenage daughter out in her underwear and made her stand in the cold, undressed. Until that moment, this family thought they were living in America and that they had rights. They were wrong. I mean, they started taking things. They took the cell phones, the tablets, the laptops. They took anything that might contain information or, more to the point, value. The family had, as I mentioned, recently moved. They had not yet opened a new banking account, apparently. They had all their money in cash, along with their passports and their children's devices, and all of this was taken by ICE. There was no receipt, no business card, no identification, no way to get these things back. They simply vanished, leaving this family humiliated, traumatized, and stripped of the basic tools of modern life. No apology, no accountability, no restitution. This was not an accident. This is a symptom, a glimpse behind the curtains of what Trump has built, an unaccountable, increasingly lawless operation, a deportation regime that functions more like secret police than a branch of a democratic government. And the targets aren't just undocumented immigrants or criminal suspects anymore. They're legal residents. They're going after college students who dare to say that they disagree with Netanyahu's policy of bombing Gaza back to the Stone Age. They're going after people born and raised in this country. Their only crime is voicing dissent against Trump or his friends, in this case Netanyahu, and compounded by having the wrong skin color. But some people are pushing back. U.S. District Court in District of New Jersey ruled yesterday that Mahmoud Khalil should have his day in court. They rejected the government's argument that he should simply be deported. He has not committed any crimes, Mr. Khalil. He was in the United States legally. His only offense in the eyes of the Trump administration was participating in these peaceful protests against Israeli policy in Gaza. That's it. For that, ICE agents stormed his university housing, locked him in a detention facility, basically because they don't like what he said. This is not how constitutional republics are supposed to work. Back in February of 1841, 73-year-old former President John Quincy Adams stood before the Supreme Court. In the Amistad case, 53 African men had been captured in Sierra Leone, kidnapped, and transported to the United States to be sold as slaves. On the way here, as the boat was approaching the port of New York, the prisoners, the enslaved men, overtook the boat. They seized control. They mutinied, or whatever that word is. I guess crew is mutiny, but they were not the crew. But you get the point. They took over the boat. And, our Army or our Navy went out and seized the ship. And there was this effort. Now, 1841, I'm not sure who was president then, but there was an effort by the then administration to deport these people. And John Quincy Adams went into court and said, by what right was due process denied to the men who had restored to themselves freedom? And why was it extended to the perpetrators of those acts of violence themselves? I mean, he invokes something deeper, the principle that all people, regardless of citizenship, nationality, or status, are entitled to the protection of the law, to due process, to a lawyer, to a judge. And, it was a radical argument at the time, but the Supreme Court agreed. John Quincy Adams and the 53 African men won that case. So fast forward to 2025. Here we are, the Trump administration, basically again saying, no, we, the government, have the power to do whatever we want to citizens without any judge, jury, without even a lawyer. And this is what they tried to do in Mahmoud Khalil's case and others. And this isn't isolated. Rumeysa Öztürk, this Turkish graduate student working on her PhD at Tufts University, was grabbed by masked agents and whisked off in an unmarked car. No warrants, no hearings, literally no evidence of criminal activity. These people committed no crime. And yet they are in prison in Louisiana right now. John Quincy Adams would be horrified. I mean, the very notion should be constitutionally absurd, right? That we can lock people up without due process, that you can deprive a person of their liberty without due process. And yet, that's what they're doing. That is what the Trump administration is doing. I mean, who gets to decide who's a pro-jihadist protester or Hamas sympathizer? That's what they say they're going after. Who gets to decide? Trump does, or the people in his administration. That's how autocrats consolidate power. They redefine dissent as treason. They criminalize speech. They strip away rights piecemeal until there's nothing left to defend. This happened in Turkey under Erdogan. It's happened in Hungary under Orban. It happened in Russia under Putin. And right now it's happening here. And, you know, these are the echoes of the Amistad case. We need to be fighting back. We need to immediately support all these legal challenges. We need massive public protests against these policies. Within the law, universities should refuse to cooperate and protect their students. Communities should establish sanctuary policies. I mean, John Quincy Adams knew in 1841 that this was wrong. His father helped write the Constitution of the United States, John Adams, who was our second president. I mean, if we don't stand up for everybody today who is in the United States, legally or illegally, all persons, the Constitution does not say that these rights are just for citizens. They are for anybody on American soil, because if we deprive anybody of rights, we are depriving potentially everybody of rights.